I pointed out the hypocrisy of how she would do one thing, and when the standard was held to herself, she did the exact opposite. We are seeing that opportunity again in this debate coming up tomorrow night for President Trump to do the very same thing. What Kamala Harris is saying, the lies that she is selling to the American people now, is the exact opposite of the record that she has had, frankly, as the incumbent in this race.
I'm Vince for RTM News. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. So, as we now are on the eve of the presidential debate, the big question on everyone's mind is what is going to happen when Kamala Harris is actually forced to face scrutiny? Because we know thus far that is not something that has really happened.
As you remember, Jesse, she was treated like with kid gloves by the mainstream propaganda media. She was treated with kid gloves, even by every other candidate that was on that debate stage. No one questioned her, challenged her, or called her out for the record as prosecutor that she claimed to be proud of. She talked every day about how she'd be a prosecutor president, but no one questioned her about what that record was and how that would translate if she were president. And I pointed out the hypocrisy. I pointed out the hypocrisy of how she would do one thing, and when the standard was held to herself, she did the exact opposite. We are seeing that opportunity again in this debate coming up tomorrow night for President Trump to do the very same thing. What Kamala Harris is saying, the lies that she is selling to the American people now, is the exact opposite of the record that she has had, frankly, as the incumbent in this race. She's been in the White House for the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years, not President Trump. And our country's in a disastrous position as a result, both on domestic and foreign policy. So she's not to be underestimated because she is talented on a debate stage. There's no question about that. But she's going to have a tough time trying to defend this record that, quite frankly, from the view of the American people, is indefensible.
As Tulsi Gabbard brought up there in that clip, that past record, this is going to be the hardest thing for Kamala Harris to try to defend. And thus far, even when she's been lightly grilled on it, for instance, in that CNN interview with Dana Bash, we see that she massively struggles to articulate how she has changed and why. And of course, flip-flopping is never something that is easy to defend. But Kamala Harris thus far has not exactly been good at it.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
Yeah, that's obviously not true, and we all know that by now. But this past record thing is something that is especially bad for Kamala Harris, someone who is currently trying to angle herself in the race as being a reasonable center-left moderate. And it's getting so bad, even CNN recently brought on the K-Files guy once again to do a deep dive of Kamala Harris's record. And I'd argue, yes, it is CNN, but this segment is essentially free debate prep and help and tutoring, I guess, for the points that Donald Trump can make on the debate stage tonight. Check it out.
Tonight, Kamala Harris releasing details of her policy positions for the first time on her campaign website. A K-File investigation has uncovered, meantime, a 2019 questionnaire. And in this questionnaire, Harris laid out some much more liberal stances, among them on immigration. So in 2019, in what K-File found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, "Our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE." Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else did you find?
Yeah, and this was a questionnaire that she filled out for the ACLU, and This questionnaire is really an interesting snapshot in time of that 2019 Democratic primary. Kamala Harris was trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was trying to get to the left of Elizabeth Warren. And you really see that in a lot of these answers. And I want to walk our viewers through a little bit of what she said.
And now that's the thing. You see that coming back to bite her. And this is a unique issue to Kamala Harris, especially because unlike Joe Biden, who always was one of the more moderate Democrats in that 2020 primary, even when he was trying to appeal to the progressive base, is that despite all of Joe Biden's flaws, and yes, overall, Kamala probably still is a stronger candidate than he was, especially in the later days, he never had to deal with any of this, right? He never had a past of saying the type of things that Kamala Harris said. And again, this is free ammunition. You know, this is cannon fodder, figuratively speaking, on the campaign trail, and especially on that debate stage. And take a listen here to some of those specifics.
Take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
Taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants.
She
actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then the end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, you know, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally. You know,
taxpayer-funded transition surgeries for illegal immigrants. Yes, it really does get that woke for her. You know, it's not just, oh, we support illegal immigration, we should have open borders. We should also have taxpayer funding for transgender surgeries. I mean, it is that ridiculous. And here's especially, I think, the big part that may come back to bite her is that immigration in particular is one of the biggest defining issues of this election. And that's the thing, is she said radical things about a lot of issues, you know, healthcare, stuff like that, taxation, whatever you want to say. But these are not big issues that the American public is necessarily thinking about or going to be the defining things about this election. Immigration, according to the opinion polls on this, is always basically the second most important issue behind the economy for voters in this cycle. And that's precisely why, bigger than the past things, for instance, she said about Medicare for all, this is why she's trying so hard to flip-flop and walk back the prior stances on it. But again, it's one thing to be radical on an issue that nobody really cares about currently, like climate change or even healthcare, right? Not saying people don't care about those things, but they're not at the forefront of everyone's minds. This is at the forefront of everyone's mind, and that's something that Trump specifically has a unique opportunity to expose in tonight's debate. But there's not a lot left, so let's just listen to the rest of this little expose here, folks.
What else, you know, did you find?
Well, let's take a look at her answer here on drugs. She got asked about, the question from the ACLU was, since drug use is better addressed as a public health issue through treatment and other programming, will you support the decriminalization at the federal level of all drug possession for personal use? And Harris answers yes. Now, what would that mean? Well, it mean the federal all drug possession. That's not just marijuana, which she alluded to in her answer to this question, but it also would mean
federal level of all drug possession,
fentanyl,
for personal
crack,
use.
Cocaine, things like that. Yeah.
Have they responded to you on her changes on these issues?
So we did put this question to the Harris campaign about the entire ACLU questionnaire, and the Harris campaign didn't answer any questions from CNN. Instead, they just provided a statement from an unnamed Harris campaign advisor that just said the vice president's positions have been shaped by 3 years of effective governance as part of the Biden-Harris administration. Now,
wait, but I thought her whole thing was, I've had a career as a prosecutor. I've been fighting this in my entire life. And then when asked, okay, well, here's what you stood for recently, not that many years ago. No. My entire agenda, everything I believe, was simply shaped by, in their words here, 3 years of effective governance as part of the Biden-Harris administration, completely ignoring the fact that she said in the CNN interview not like 2 weeks ago that my values have not changed. Okay, like, so, you know, point being is this, folks. Tonight is the time where this is all really gonna be put to the test, because obviously, you know, I don't think it's gonna be an easy walk in the park debate for Donald Trump the way that June 27th was, but at the same time, this is now the night where Kamala Harris is gonna have to be confronted with the things she said in the past, and I guess we're about to find out here which tug of war wins. That said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Give me some predictions for the presidential debate, or if you are finding this video after the debate, let me know your review of how you think it went. And until next time, I've been Vince with RTM News. Peace.